All right, let's look at triangle midsegments. And so what is a midsegment? Well, take a triangle and find the midpoint of this guy and the midpoint of that guy, and then connect. And there wouldn't have to be that one. We could have found the midpoint here and the midpoint there and connected that one. Okay. What we want to show is that the midsegment of a triangle, okay, the midsegment it's got two properties. Okay. It is parallel and half the length of the corresponding side. Right, so then this is parallel to this and half its length. This guy would be parallel to that guy and half its length. So if that's like 10, that's for sure 5, and they're parallel, which means they have the same slope. Right, if this is 6, that for sure is only 3. Okay, so really I don't think it's too hard of an idea. So the midsegment of the triangle is the line that connects the midpoints. Maybe I should have wrote that. Those are the midpoints. So connect the two midpoints of any two of the sides, and that line is what we call the midsegment, and it is both parallel and half of the length. Okay, so let's do it down here. Okay, so I have a triangle formed by 4, 1, 6, 13, and 12, 7, and it's plotted roughly to scale. I'm going to find the midpoint here, and I'm going to find the midpoint there, something close to that. Okay, so remind ourselves how to find the midpoint. Well, the midpoint is just the middle, which is also the average. I know I hate this, but that is how you find the midpoint, because that's how you find the average of two numbers. You add them together and divide by 2, which is also the same thing of the middle. Now in this one we can do it in our head. What's in the middle of 4 and 6? Well, of course 5, but it's the same thing as doing 4 plus 6 is 10 and dividing by 2 and getting 5. So this is 5 comma, and the number between, we have 1 and 13 for our y values. 1 plus 13 is 14, divided by 2 is 7, and again you can show that 7 is for sure in the middle of 1 and 13, right? It's 6 away from 13 and 6 away from 1. Okay, so this midpoint is 5, 7. Now let's find this midpoint. 6 and 12 have a middle of 9. 6 plus 12 is 18, divided by 2 and you get 9, and then 13 and 7 have a midpoint of 10. There is our midsegment. Okay, let's find the slopes of both of them, and I'll show you that they're in fact the same. Okay, the slope here, has a rise of 7 up to 10, right? That's a rise of 3, and a run of 5 all the way to 9 is a slope of 3/4. Okay, and if you really went through and did it and showed that, it'd be 10 minus 7 over 9 minus 5. And again, that's 3/4. If I did this one, it'd be 7 minus 1 over 12 minus 4. 6/8, which is 3/4. And you're like, boom, both slopes are in fact 3/4, which I just showed you the midsegment is in fact parallel to that side. Now let's show you that their lengths are the same. Okay, so to find lengths, I'm going to do Pythagorean theorem. So this guy, I'm going to do that. And I already decided, it's very similar to the slope, right? This was 8 over and 6 sub. So then this guy's length, 6 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. That's 36 plus 64 equals c squared. That's 100 equals c squared. And so c is equal to 10, meaning this is 10. Now the theorem says that this is already 5, but I'll prove to you it's 5. So I want to do this triangle. right? And that was 4 over and 3 up. So then 3 squared plus 4 squared equals its length squared. So that's 9 plus 16, that's 25, and of course we get 5. One is length 10, one is length 5, boom. The mid-segment is parallel and half the length. And so this section really just kind of covers that property of a triangle. Again, the mid-segment is finding the midpoint. So, you know, I think it's a really good review of properties we've talked about. You have to be able to find the midpoint, you have to be able to find the slope, and you have to be able to find the length of segments. And in this case, we're just showing you that the mid-segment is in fact parallel and half the length. And then of course there's other problems involved that, you know, if I gave you something like this and I told you that was the midpoint, and then I told you this was 5, you know, and this was then, you know, x minus 14. Well, what's x? Well, we know this has to be double. So 10 equals x minus 14, because we know that's 10, because we know that's 5, and we know this is the mid-segment. And then you could show me that x is equal to 24. So you could solve for things like that. But again, you're just kind of going through mid-segments.